So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. If you're here to learn about the ACE Mentor Program in Connecticut, you are in the right place. So, my name is a architect here at JCJ Architecture. I'm an associate principal and also a licensed architect. And I'm also the president of ACE Connecticut. So I'll be your host as we run through an introduction to our program. Today, we're going to start off with a little bit just about what ACE is all about, and then we'll go a little deeper into what the session structure tends to be, what the activities are, and what you'd be doing on a day-to-day basis. We'll talk a little bit about the mentors and alumni that have participated in our program, and if that all inspires you to want to become involved, the final section will be next steps on how you can register and get onto a team. We will have a Q&A session at the end, and I encourage you to use the chat feature with any questions that you have as they come up. So we can address some of them as they're going, but we will end up having the Q&A session at the end. So what is the ACE program? Well, at its core, ACE is a volunteer program designed for high school students to help you explore the construction industry. Our mission is to engage, excite, and enlighten students to learn about these exciting career paths. It's open to students from freshman to senior, so grades 9 through 12. Um, and it's really an opportunity to get hands-on experience in a profession before you've gone into college, before you've spent a lot of time and money and effort learning about a career. This is a chance to really see up close and personal what these different industries are like and find where your passion lies. It's a chance to work with mentors that are actual professionals who are active in the industries. We are all here volunteering our time because of our passion for our careers and for our desire to give back and help others that might be on the same path. We have many exciting activities that you participate in, and it's also a chance to work collaboratively with other students to do a project that is based on real world examples showing real world skills. So ACE is a national program. There are affiliates across all of America, about 70 of them, of which ACE Connecticut is one. Nationwide, there are over 5,000 volunteers participating. Here in Connecticut, we tend to have about 100 volunteers participating each year. And tend to have a bit over 100 students enrolled. So we have a very high volunteer to student ratio and a really great chance to build network among real professionals. ACE does give out scholarships to students. We've, as a organization, given out over $37 million since our inception. And those scholarships do target ACE students, so there's a smaller pool of applicants, and so we do really do our best to help uh, ACE participants find their passion and continue on into the industry. We have other resources that are also available to ACE students, such as the Transformative Partners Program, which we'll talk about a little later, which is a way that students can continue their relationship with ACE after high school. And each year, we find that between 1,500 and 2,000 ACE alumni are entering the industry as full-time employees. So it's really been a successful program in helping students find a profession that matches their interests, matches their passion, and then helping them have the resources um, to move on and effectively join the industry. So as I mentioned, we're all volunteers and we're all active professionals. You can see up on screen there that we get volunteers across many different industries to cover all the different aspects of architecture, construction, and engineering. And students will have a chance to try their hand at all of these professions. While you're working with the mentors, we're simulating the real world. So you are learning about actual concepts that we apply in the real world. We're basing the projects and the activities on programs and structures that actually get built, and we look at it through all the different lenses that are involved in a project. So whether it's from the owner who's developing the program to the city that needs to review it, or the design team that's visualizing it and figuring out how it comes together, to the construction team who's figuring out how to build it and working through those processes. You get to try your hand at all those different angles. It's also a chance for you to try new skills and learn new means of communication. So whether we're drawing or drafting using different computer programs, building physical models or building digital models, you'll have a chance to try the different skills that we use and get exposure to that. One of the central aspects of the program is the team project. So you'll be collaborating with other students from your school or from other schools to come up with a realistic project that you'll again think through from beginning to end. So we start with a program that talks about what the project is really going to be. Together, the team will sketch out their initial ideas. Those sketches develop into something that's a bit more refined, and eventually becomes a design that can be understood in 3 dimensions with materiality. And all the content that I'm showing up here on screen is by a students in the program. These are not exceptional. We use these tools and use these approaches in many of our teams, and high school students like yourselves can learn how to use the software and the techniques to get these results. And at the end of the process, your team will present the project in a public presentation, which we train you to have the presentation skills, the speaking skills. We practice how to do it, so you go into it well prepared. But this is, yet another great experience to, build your expertise. So why might you be interested in ACE? Well, the real reason that the program exists is to help people find their passion. I know so many stories of young individuals who have thought they knew what their career was all about, and knew what they wanted to be from a very young age, whether it was they wanted to be a veterinarian or a scientist or a architect. But then when they got into the field after going through years of college, um, they found that it wasn't really what they expected. So this program is a chance to see many different professions in the construction industry and find the one that really resonates with you and the one that you can be excited about before you do all of the time consuming and expensive work in college to get a degree. It's also a chance for you to build relationships with professionals that can help you along your career path to develop many new skills. And as I mentioned, we give out a lot of scholarships at ACE with the intent of helping students enter the industry. And that does tend to be a smaller pool of applicants. So qualifying for those scholarships can really give you a leg up. And lastly, the program is fun. So I've been involved with ACE since 2006, so almost 20 years now. I have enjoyed every year of it and would not be coming back if I didn't think it was a great program and one that I really have enjoyed. So we have a lot of fun while we learn a lot of really interesting and exciting content. So the program is intended to be free for students. There's no cost to register, there's no cost to attend. Many of the teams provide hospitality, like drinks and soda and pizza during the event. That's all sponsored by the hosts and the supporters of ACE. The supplies that the teams use are again all covered by ACE. So it really is our intent to make it as easy as possible to join the program. In some cases where students have difficulty with transportation and need assistance to be able to reach the location where the sessions are held, because typically they are at professionals' offices. We can make arrangements to provide parking or bus vouchers to help that financial burden, again, with the intent of making it as easy as possible for students to attend the program. And I know, I've always heard the expression that there's no such thing as a free lunch. So whenever someone says to me, well, it's free, I question, well, what's the motive? Why is it free? What are they getting out of it? Right. And the reason for the program to exist is really twofold. On the one hand, the volunteers that participate have either benefited from mentoring in the past or see the value of it in the future as a thing that they never had and want to give back to help others on their path find a path that's right for them and a good fit for them. It's also on an industry-wide basis, a program that many firms are supporting because we want to help that next generation of professionals find the construction industry and get involved in it and see the opportunity in that. And so while that might give an incentive for kind of rose-colored glasses, the mantra of the program really is to show a realistic view into what construction is all about, because we want our students to understand what the industry is really like so they can make an informed decision. And if it is something that's their passion, we want them to get involved. And if it's not, frankly, we'd rather they find that out early in the process and move on to something that is. So the program is designed to be free to students. You contribute your time, your energy, your passion, your activity to it, but there's no financial cost to participate. So with that, we're going to go into a little bit more detail into the session structure, what the sessions are really like. And to cover that content, I'd like to invite Joe to introduce himself and talk a little further.
Thank you, Dan. And yeah, just to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Joe Geffert. I'm an electrical engineer with a company called Southport Engineering Associates. Our office here is primarily mechanical and electrical, plumbing and fire protection, but we have other offices that do a bunch of other things nationally and internationally. And I have a kind of a unique story to build on what Dan said. Fortunately, I was with a company years ago. It was called Thornton Tomasetti out of New York City. The founder of that company, or the president of the company, Charlie Thornton, had started, ACE Mentor back in the early 90s. And he started in New York with a bunch of firms, architectural firms and construction firms and engineering firms to get everybody on the same page and, to mentor high school students. When he started the chapter in Connecticut, we were doing some stuff together. He reached out to me and said, Joe, you need to get involved with this. I'm like, yeah, it sounds good. And I was fortunate because I got involved in the first chapter in New Haven. And that was with an architectural firm called Caesar Pelli and Turner Construction, and a bunch of other engineering firms, which was kind of neat. And fast forward that I did that for many years. We had a family, and just recently, a couple years ago, a good friend, a structural engineer, reached out to me and said, "Hey, we've got this ACE Mentor program. We need, some MEP engineers. Would you be interested?" I'm like, you know what? I should get involved again. And it was kind of funny because a lot of the same people I knew from way back when have been friends with, were involved with it. So I've been doing it a couple years now, and it's just great to kind of reconnect with mentors and, connect with the students. And, I'll talk a little bit about the session structure. Based on our experience, I'm part of the Bridgeport chapter, and we're very fortunate because we have a very good, strong, mentors, and we always get great students. And what we do is we do meetings every other week, but some chapters do weekly meetings, and typically it's in the middle week, anywhere from, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Meetings are typically about an hour and a half long, and they're either hosted in, one of the offices, or sometimes it's like a client. Like we are actually at a facility, it's called Wakeman's, and we're fortunate because a lot of the team members actually had worked at that facility. It's a couple years old, and we designed it and we built it. And the client said, "Hey, you guys can use this facility." It's nice because we can kind of spread out there. The sessions typically start in October and they run through either February, May, depending upon the chapter. The expert presentations, we typically organize it so that we have different disciplines present, during the weeks on their field of expertise. And it's pretty easy because we have a lot of resources, whether it's, construction management firms or architectural or structural or mechanical, electrical, civil, and some landscape. Sometimes we do some interior stuff. And they basically give an overview of what they do, and they open it up to the students. And if there's any interest there, the experts or, the professionals can speak to those students and, expand upon, or answer any questions they have. So I think that's a pretty big deal. Hands-on activities, we've done a lot of different activities, over the years in this particular chapter. And, it involves like an introduction to the design aspects of it, the programming, of a building or of a facility or of a site. We look at the structural components of those. We do the engineering design, and we try to introduce different levels of the design, to the students, and, you get feedback. And then some of the construction planning, what goes into a project, how do we put, those projects together? And some of the architectural activities we did in our particular chapter, we did some planning of the site, and we did some bubble diagrams that kind of show, if you have a project and you have a building and you have a bunch of requirements from the owner, how do those kind of fit together in like a bubble diagram? We also did an activity, it was kind of like a Where's Waldo activity, where we broke the students into groups of probably 5 each. And we gave them a set of plans, and then we gave them a list of things to find on the drawings, like, or hints of, what to look for. And so they would go through those, they would highlight them, and then we'd sort of have a little game to see like who got the most right and stuff. So that was kind of neat. And that, we've done that for a couple years now, and, it gets not only the students familiar with looking at the drawings, but kind of how they go together and, how they're related. And, each of the professionals, we kind of set them in different groups and have them in different tables and stuff. On the engineering activities, from the engineering side, there's a bunch of different disciplines, right? We've got electrical, and we've got some mechanical, we've got some plumbing and fire protection, and we've got structural. So on the structural side, some of the fun stuff we've done with the students there was we gave the students, let's call it an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. We said, hey, you need to, cut this up in certain dimensions and make a platform. And then we're going to kind of load that platform and see, how many books we can stack, or how many reams of paper we can stack on it. And it's pretty amazing. The students all come up with kind of different approaches and different ideas. And so you stack them and you see when the thing actually fails. And, I think I want to say we've had, up to 18 or 20, reams of paper where it got pretty tall, and it's just amazing what they can do. And then as part of a secondary part of that, we gave them some dimensions on another sheet and said, hey, how long can you make this, structure? And, I want to say it was in the 5 to 6 foot range, very thin and slender. But they learn different activities, and you kind of learn, the students learn from, the other students. On the plumbing side, we did some like flow, or we were going to do some flow stuff where you measure the flow out of a sink and you see how many gallons per minute and you do some calculations. On the mechanical side, we had a little Stirling engine that we gave to, the different students so that they can learn, how the engine actually works with like either a cold or hot element. And with mechanical, we actually went to another site where we did some wiring of a thermostat. We gave the students a wiring diagram. We kind of worked with them all to say, hey, how would you make a thermostat work? Electrically, we did wiring circuits. We had some different light switches, whether it was a single switch or a two-way or a three-way switch. And we had, simulated how to turn those on. So we gave, each group those activities to do. So those were kind of the hands-on activities. We kind of try to tie it together. On the next slide, the construction activities, we try to go to a site each year. Fortunately, we had the same site the past 2 years, which was a technical high school. So last year, they were in the process, I think, of doing most of the site work and the footings and the foundations. And then this year, the building was built and they were starting to do interior finishes and stuff. So we kind of walked through the site interior, we walked through the exterior. We had sat down with the team that was on site building that, and that was kind of neat. And then we also went to one of the training centers. That the first site was a Gilbane site. The second site was a Turner Construction site, and we walked through the kind of their training center of how they, have their materials, and we talked to like a union carpenter there and kind of work through, some of those things. So that was kind of neat where we try to get the students, into some hands-on, real world activities. And to me, it's neat because it doesn't really matter what discipline you are. Sometimes we have in our group, we actually have mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection area from two different companies that are involved. The same on the construction side. And it doesn't really matter which company you're with. We all just kind of work together and we're there for the students. And the student project, as Dan had mentioned earlier, our particular project this year was a farmer's market. We always try to do it kind of close to the area where our meetings are held, because then we can, walk the students over and kind of get a real world, view of that. It was actually right adjacent to the Boys and Girls Club. And it was kind of neat because they got to lay out the farmers, they got to see the site, they got to kind of space proof it, they got to follow the RFP or the request for proposal to make sure they follow all the, parameters of that. And then, as you saw earlier, the student, boards and projects come together. So I think that's kind of the highlight of, what the sessions, entail.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And one thing I would add on to that is, Joe had mentioned how the Bridgeport chapter often designs something around their local area, their local community, but there's also the ACE national competition, which some teams elect to base their project on and to submit to. So this is a competition that is nationwide. So students from all 50 states, and you prepare a couple boards about your project that describe what you've, designed, what you've figured out, and it's reviewed by judges who are highly esteemed professionals, and the winners of the competition are invited to Washington, D.C. to present their project to the board for videotaping and sharing and being produced as one of the great things. So this year is a landmark year for the national ice competition. It is our I want to say 30th year of the competition being held, and so instead of the just the winners being invited to DC this year, there's They're inviting the runners up as well. So there's expanded prizes for the competition essentially, and we're expecting that it'll drum up a lot of great interest and a lot more competition. So if that's something that is interesting to you, you can talk with your team about participating in the national competition, but it is optional. It's never required. Um, so with that, we're going to transition on to talk a little bit about the alumni and mentors that participate in the program. And so I'd like to hand it off to Jeff now to introduce himself and talk a little bit about that. Jeff?
Thanks, Dan. As Dan noted, I'm Jeff. I'm with HLW. We've got a few locations. I'm in the Stanford office and I'm a registered architect. This will be my third year, I believe, working with ACE. And it has been just a really unexpected bright spot for me in my career. I really enjoy working with the students and with the rest of the mentors, which I think is really a big part of the benefit of ACE. It's building that network. As Dan noted earlier, one of the benefits of participating in ACE is that seniors are eligible for scholarships. Dan, if you want to, perfect. So it's a relatively small number of applicants, which works in your favor. So we encourage you to apply. There are a total of 8 scholarships across the state, I believe, Dan.
So we awarded 8 this year. The number does
Got it.
vary from year to year, but yes.
Okay, very good. And well, in any case, these are 4 recipients from the class of 2025. They're from across the state. They're attending different schools for different areas of study. So it does not matter where you're from or where you're going. Just being an ACE participant makes you eligible. Gwen was in our Bridgeport chapter for at least 2 years. But again, as a senior, you're eligible for the scholarship. And here you can see for ACE alumni and current college students, again, across the state, various schools, various areas of study. A benefit here is that you can stay in touch with your ACE network through your college education and beyond. Because of ACE, they all have a built-in network. Professionals, it really gives them a leg up when applying for internships or jobs. Personally, there are two students who will occasionally reach out to me for opinions or questions. I think it's worth noting that maybe more than other industries, at least for architecture, it really depends on mentoring. School is great, it's very important, but a lot of the most important stuff you're going to use in your career, it's going to be things that you learn in the field working with other professionals. So it's really important to have and find a mentor that can guide you through that process. So ACE is an excellent opportunity to start that even before you get to college. And again, it's a great way to build your network.
Yeah, and one additional benefit that you have from ACE is the Transformative Partners Program. So in addition to the mentoring that you can receive and the relationships that you'll build with the mentors on your team, and we highly encourage students to build those relationships and stay in touch with their mentors, there's actually a dedicated program that ACE runs where alumni of our program can be paired up with a single mentor on a repeating basis to meet every month or so just to get advice or just have a place to be able to share your experiences and ask questions and vent a bit when things are different than you expected or harder than you thought or better than you thought, and have someone that you can really share with and benefit from. So this is a further perk of participating in the program is access to the transformative partners.
And ideally, we'd love it if you would pay it forward and volunteer for ACE like these 4 mentors. Emily and Tim are part of the Bridgeport chapter, along with Joe and myself. But everyone here there is active in their own industry. So again, it continues to be an excellent networking opportunity. And I know I keep saying networking, but it's really about building relationships. This entire industry is really built on relationships. So it's a great skill to have, and it's great to start those relationships earlier when you can. And here you can see some of the names that support and names of firms rather that support and participate in ACE, all highly regarded, many considered leaders in their field. A lot of people are surprised to learn that architecture, construction, engineering, it's actually a pretty small industry. So if you continue in the industry, you will likely end up working with or for these companies. You know, I work on projects where Southport is a consultant, or, you know, Turner is the GC, Pavarini, Gilbane, Thornton Tomasetti. So again, it's an excellent way to grow your network now, and get to see what it's like actually working with people that are active in the industry.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And I think that both the quality of the firms that are participating and the number of mentors that were formerly students and come back to the program to support it as mentors really speaks to the quality of the effort, but also the value that people see in it. And we have so many students that have, you know, written back to us or told us through our different communications with them that this program really was life-changing in some way, whether it was helping them find something they really love or avoid making a big mistake of something they thought was going to be great and then they found out was not for them. You know, it really is a means to explore different things and find out what's right for you and have it driven in that way. So hopefully this has, you know, inspired your interest and you're saying this sounds great, I want to participate. What do I do, right? Where do I go? How do I make this happen? And the first step is to register. So acementor.org is our website, and I'll show you how to register there in just a moment. Part of the registration process will require the completion and submission of a parent consent form. And then mark your calendars for the first session, which are going to be in October. So coming soon. So this is an image of the website, acementor.org, and you'll see that in the kind of top middle of the page, there's a drag down for students and another button here in the drag down menu of registration login. You'll click to that and there'll be a button on that page that lets you sign up. It asks some pretty straightforward information of, you know, your name, your school, your contact information, so we can get in touch with you. And then that process puts you into the queue. And from there, we will assign you to a team, and your team leader will reach out to you with further details on how to get to where the sessions are held and all the logistics of their specific group. But it really is a straightforward process. And if you do encounter problems, you can certainly reach out to us, either through Connecticut at acementor.org as the email, or our website has other contacts that you can connect to us with. So this year we have 7 teams across Connecticut. You can see that we have 2 in Hartford, one meeting on Tuesdays and the other meeting on Wednesdays. Both of them will be starting up in the week of October 14th and have deadlines in early October in just a little bit here. We also have a team with Salis O'Brien in Bloomfield. They meet on Wednesdays, and they'll be starting up a little bit earlier than the other teams on the 8th. And we have a team in Middletown that's meeting at Ty and Bond. Again, meeting on Wednesdays, starting up in that week of the 15th. We have a team in New Haven at Picard Chilton. It'll be meeting on Tuesdays, which is different this year from last year. So if there are any returning students, please note that it is on Tuesdays. That first session will be the 14th. In New Britain, the team will be meeting at Castle Lewes. That will be meeting on Tuesdays as well, starting on the 14th. And then the Bridgeport team, as Joe mentioned a bit earlier, meets at the Wakeman Boys and Girls Club. That team will be meeting on Thursdays, and their first class is the latest of the group that they start on the 23rd. So there is hopefully within that an option that is a time you can make and a location that you can make, and we hope that you will register and join us. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and your interest, and we'd love to open up the questions. I see there are a couple comments in the chat already, and we'll hit those one by one. And if you do have more questions, please feel free to just drop them right into the chat. So there was a question about what time the sessions meet, and I think that came in before I covered it, but repetition is always a strong point. So most of the teams are meeting in the ballpark of 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, but it does vary from one team to another. So some are starting at 4, some at 4:30, some at 5, and so you can find the team that's right for you. We covered the general sign-up process through the website. And when you're doing that registration on the website, you can indicate if you have a preferred team. It'll ask you if you prefer a certain day of the week. You can indicate the days that are better for you. And it'll also ask you for your school and home location so that we can find the teams that are close to you. The one of the questions here was what happens if you miss a meeting? And would any of the mentors on the call like to talk about that and kind of how we run the teams? I see Matt coming off mute.
Yeah, I can touch on that. So we encourage you to try and make every single meeting that you can to get the most benefit out of it. But we do understand you might have prior commitments for a school or a sports team or something along those lines. So missing a meeting here or there is probably unavoidable. But usually it's not a big deal, at least for the teams I've been a part of. Sometimes a team might give you a little work to do at home so you can stay involved, catch up a little bit before the next meeting. But generally, it's not a big deal where everyone's really understanding and we'll catch you right up on the next class.
Yeah. And I would only add on to that it's kind of like a sports team in that analogy, right? Where your teammates are depending on you, they want you there, they would love to have you at every game, at every practice, but occasionally something's going to come up, life happens, and if you miss a session, it's not the end of the world. We can catch you up and like you said, continue to participate. Another question that's come through in chat is what is the requirement for joining the national teams? And short version of it is that there aren't really any specific requirements of what it takes to be on the team participating. There are requirements in terms of the date that the project needs to be submitted, the size of the boards, the content that gets submitted, and your team would run through all of those requirements with you when you get started. But there isn't any requirement in terms of like you need to be a certain grade or you need to have already taken certain courses. You can come as you are. The thing that you need to bring to it, the only real requirement that I would say is that you need to be committed to it. So the ACE national competition teams do tend to attract the people that want to, you know, put the effort in to make a really great project and compete at the national scale. That takes commitment, that takes desire. And so you're going to need to bring that to the table. Um, so there was a another question about the one of the attendees has already registered and they picked architecture as their primary interest, but now they think they're more interested in engineering. How can they change this? The short answer is that the way that you've registered isn't going to change how you get to participate in the program. And as you interact with your team and with your team leadership and the mentors, you're going to be asked what are your interests and what do you like to explore, and that's going to change over time. So it'll just be that you need to maintain the dialogue. One of the things that we do pride the program on is that it gives students broad exposure to the different disciplines. Everybody gets to try their hand at a little at everything, but that they do have the ability to speak up and say what they love most and kind of dive into that a little more and have opportunity to maybe be more of the engineer role on the project if that's your interest. Um, uh, the one quick question that came in was, will you be automatically placed in a team at some point after registration? And the answer is typically yes. In very rare occasions, things have booked up where we can't accommodate everyone. But in terms of the logistical process of it, we do in the background, after you've registered, assign you to a team and have the team member notify. And in the rare cases where we can't accommodate someone, you'll get a communication, that explains that. So I do encourage folks to register early to make sure that they can get into their preferred teams and preferred areas. And that again, it's really based on the interest and desire to participate more than any special requirements that you have other than being a interested high school student. One last question that we have in chat is a student is interested in cybersecurity and game development, and is the ACE program able to mentor in those interests? Do any of our mentors want to speak to this? Otherwise, I'll take it. So the ACE mentor program really is focused on the engineering industry, or I'm sorry, on the construction related industries. And so cybersecurity and game development do start to go outside of that. Some of our engineering disciplines have similar skills and similar, um, you know, uh, interests and whatnot, but the program does not, speak specifically to game development or to cybersecurity. So that wouldn't be a great fit. Let's see. Uh, one student has asked when they will find out if they've been accepted, and my expectation is that we're going to do a first round of notifying people in about a 2 weeks here at the beginning of October, that October 3rd. And then the deadlines for many of the teams are the following week, and will likely be communicating out to folks that register in that second window around October 10th. So if you've already registered or registered soon, you'll be finding out in just a week or two. And if you register closer to the deadline, we'll still, reach out to you before the sessions have started. But, it'll be a little later based on that later application. Okay. And then a person has the question of when they were a mentor in Bridgeport, you had to be either a senior or have already gone to ACE for a year to participate in the national team. And is that the requirement? So most of the teams that I've worked with do not have a specific requirement in terms of participating for the national team. Joe, I don't know if you can speak to for Bridgeport if that has been a recent requirement they've put in for that chapter.
I believe we did that just to we were concerned about the group getting too large and stuff, for the national team. And I believe that's why we had that requirement. And we kind of gave preference to the juniors and seniors.
Yeah. So sometimes it varies a little bit based on the number of people that are interested in participating. So I would just leave it as if you are interested in participating, put that forward to your team leader that you do want to be put into the national, and they'll engage you as best they can. I think that we hit all the questions in the chat. If the if I did miss a question and you'd like to ask something, please feel free to unmute and ask the question now. I think we have hopefully given you a pretty good insight to what our program is all about and how it works. And I hope that it sparked your interest and curiosity, and that we'll be seeing you participating with one of our teams in just a couple of weeks. So, not seeing any more questions, I'd like to thank you all for your time and interest in joining. I'd like to thank our mentors for participating and helping with the presentation here. With that, thank you all. Have a great night. Hope to hear back from you soon. Take care.